Nestled on the outskirts of a charming small town, the land that would soon become a bustling neighborhood was once a peaceful expanse of rolling hills and towering oak trees. For generations, it had been a beloved family homestead, rich with memories and stories passed down through the years. The picturesque views and serene atmosphere attracted the attention of a local homeowners association eager to capitalize on the growing demand for housing in the area. As plans for the development of 120 new houses took shape, excitement buzzed through the community. Residents envisioned families moving in, children playing in front yards, and a revitalized sense of community blossoming among neighbors. The developers painted a vivid picture of modern homes, complete with parks, walking trails, and amenities that promised to enhance the quality of life for future residents. Yet beneath this idyllic facade lay a hidden history waiting to be uncovered. The land had seen much over the decades: farming, gatherings, and even heart-wrenching farewells. As construction began, heavy machinery rumbled across the site, disrupting the quiet serenity that had long defined it. Little did they know that beneath those fertile grounds were remnants of lives lived long ago, stories untold and secrets buried deep in time. As the first shovel struck earth, an unexpected discovery would change everything, not just for the builders, but for everyone who called this land home. The excitement of new beginnings was about to collide with an ancient past that demanded recognition and respect. The land was not just a blank canvas for new homes. It was a tapestry woven with history and memories. Long before the bulldozers arrived, this parcel of land had been home to a vibrant community dating back generations. Early settlers had cultivated the soil, planting crops and laying down roots in what they believed would be their forever home. It was here that families gathered to celebrate milestones, where children played under the watchful gaze of their ancestors, and where stories of love, loss, and resilience echoed through the trees. As time passed, the land became a resting place for those who had shaped its legacy. Unbeknownst to the developers, several burial sites were scattered across the property, marking the final resting places of pioneers, soldiers, and beloved community members. Each grave told a story, a life lived, dreams deferred, and connections that transcended time. The whispers of history lingered in the air like an unspoken promise to honor those who had come before. Local historians had long revered the area for its significance, with tales of bravery and sacrifice passed down through generations. However, as the HOA's plans progressed, this hidden history remained largely overlooked. To many in the town, it was simply a piece of land ready for development. Yet for a few mindful souls, it was a sacred ground that deserved respect and recognition. As construction advanced, it became increasingly clear that ignoring the past would not only erase these stories but also risk awakening a legacy that demanded to be acknowledged. As construction crews began to clear the land, the rhythmic thud of machinery filled the air, drowning out the whispers of the past that lingered just below the surface. The excitement of progress quickly shifted when a foreman, inspecting the site, noticed an unusual indentation in the ground. Curious, he called over a few workers to investigate. As they dug deeper, their shovels struck something solid, an unmistakable sign that something significant lay buried beneath. Panic rippled through the crew as they unearthed a weathered wooden coffin, its edges frayed and worn by time. The discovery halted work on the site immediately, turning what was once a bustling construction zone into a scene of hushed disbelief. Local authorities were called, and soon after, archaeologists arrived to assess the situation. Their faces bore a mix of intrigue and concern as they recognized the potential implications of what had been uncovered. As workers stood back in apprehension, word spread throughout the community. Neighbors gathered at the edge of the site, their expressions shifting from curiosity to shock as they realized that the land they had deemed merely a development project held secrets far more profound than anyone had anticipated. Families began to remember stories shared by their grandparents about those who had passed away in the area, igniting a collective awareness that this was not just dirt, it was hallowed ground. The discovery marked a turning point in the narrative of this neighborhood. What had begun as an ambitious housing project now faced questions of respect, history, and the need for preservation in light of a past that refused to stay buried. In the wake of the shocking discovery, the Homeowners Association faced a growing wave of concern from both the construction crew and the community. As news spread, the HOA leaders convened an emergency meeting to address the situation. Their primary focus was on mitigating the fallout while attempting to maintain the development schedule that had already been set in motion. Initially, the HOA's response was one of denial. They issued statements downplaying the significance of the find, suggesting that it was merely a routine archaeological occurrence that could be easily managed. This is just part of building in a historic area, they claimed. attempting to reassure potential homeowners that no major delays would occur. In their minds, it was crucial to maintain confidence in their project, which promised modern amenities and a new sense of community. However, as local historians and archaeologists began to uncover more burial sites, the HOA's narrative quickly faltered. Voices within the community rose in protest, demanding transparency and respect for those who had once called this land home. The HOA found themselves at a crossroads: ignore the growing unrest or take decisive action to honor the legacy buried beneath their new homes. Under pressure from community members and local media, HOA officials reluctantly agreed to pause construction temporarily. They sought guidance from historians, hoping to navigate the complex legal and ethical dilemmas that lay ahead. But the damage had already begun. Trust between the developers and residents was eroding, and concerns about how history would be treated loomed large over plans for this new neighborhood. As the news of the burial discovery spread throughout the community, reactions varied widely, reflecting a tapestry of emotions and opinions. Some residents expressed shock and disbelief, struggling to reconcile the idea that their new homes stood atop sacred ground. For them, this wasn't just about land. It was about honoring the memories of those who had shaped their town's history. Many felt a deep sense of responsibility to ensure that these individuals were treated with the dignity they deserved. Others were more pragmatic, viewing the situation through a lens of skepticism. "What's the big deal?" some asked. "It's just a few old graves." This sentiment often stemmed from a desire for progress and a belief that development was essential for the town's growth. They worried that halting construction would stifle economic opportunities and hinder the influx of new residents. For them, the allure of modern homes and amenities overshadowed the past. Amidst this divide, a passionate group began to form, those who advocated for a balance between honoring history and pursuing progress. They organized community meetings, inviting historians and archaeologists to speak about the significance of the burials and what they meant for the town's identity. These gatherings fostered discussions about heritage, respect, and what it truly meant to build a community on land with such profound historical roots. As emotions ran high, it became clear that this wasn't just about buried remains. It was about what kind of community residents wanted to cultivate. The complexities of progress versus preservation began to unfold, setting the stage for an intense dialogue that would shape the future of their neighborhood. As archaeologists carefully excavated the burial sites, a rich tapestry of stories began to unfold, captivating the community and transforming their understanding of the land they called home. Each grave revealed artifacts that painted vivid pictures of lives once lived. From worn family heirlooms to personal letters and trinkets, these items offered a glimpse into the hopes and dreams of those buried beneath. Among the first identified was a local war hero who had fought bravely in a pivotal conflict. His grave, marked by a modest headstone, told tales of valor and sacrifice that resonated deeply with residents. Stories of his bravery during battles had been passed down through generations, but few had known where he rested. As his legacy was honored, community members began to gather for memorial services, rekindling respect for the past. Another burial site belonged to a pioneering family that had settled the area in its infancy. Their descendants shared stories of hard work and resilience, illustrating how this family had helped establish farms and schools, shaping the very fabric of the town. The once overlooked narratives of everyday life emerged alongside tales of triumph, revealing the interconnectedness of history and community. As these stories circulated through town, they sparked renewed interest in preserving the land's history. Residents organized events to share findings, inviting speakers to discuss the significance of their heritage. This newfound awareness fostered a sense of unity among neighbors, as they collectively recognized that honoring those buried beneath their feet meant embracing their shared identity, one built on respect for both the past and the future. As the community delved deeper into the stories of those buried beneath the land, a palpable tension began to rise. The excitement over the discoveries was quickly overshadowed by a clash of values and priorities. While some residents passionately advocated for preserving the burial sites and honoring their historical significance, others remained focused on the pressing need for development and progress. Meetings became increasingly volatile, as differing opinions clashed in heated discussions. Advocates for preservation argued that the land should become a historical site or memorial park, emphasizing the importance of recognizing those who had contributed to the town's legacy. They shared emotional testimonies about their ancestors, urging the HOA to reconsider their plans and to approach the situation with sensitivity and respect. On the other side, developers and pro-growth residents voiced frustration over what they perceived as unnecessary delays. They believed that halting construction would not only hinder economic growth but also set a dangerous precedent for future developments. "We can't let history hold us back," one developer remarked during a particularly charged meeting. This sentiment echoed among those who felt that while history mattered, so did the need for new homes and opportunities. As tensions escalated, divisions began to form within the community itself. Friendships were strained, and long-standing alliances faltered as neighbors found themselves on opposing sides of a growing conflict. The HOA struggled to mediate between these factions, realizing that finding common ground would be no easy task. It became clear that this was more than just a debate over land. It was a struggle for identity and values, challenging residents to confront what kind of community they truly wanted to build together. As the community grappled with the implications of the burial discoveries, legal and ethical dilemmas began to surface, complicating an already tense situation. The question of ownership weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Whose land was it really? While the HOA had the legal right to develop the property, they now faced scrutiny regarding their responsibility to honor those who had been laid to rest there. Local historians and legal experts were brought in to navigate the murky waters of property laws and historical preservation statutes. They informed the HOA that, under state law, any significant archaeological find required thorough investigation and potential preservation. This revelation sparked concerns about delays in construction and financial repercussions for the developers, leading to frustration among those eager to see progress. Ethical considerations also loomed large. Many residents felt that building homes over burial sites was not only disrespectful but morally wrong. They argued for a more humane approach that acknowledged the past and preserved it for future generations. Activists began to rally support for a petition to designate the area as a historical site, emphasizing that some things were more important than profit. Complicating matters further was the emotional toll on families tied to the deceased. Descendants expressed their anguish, feeling that their ancestors were being neglected for the sake of development. As these voices grew louder, they called for a community meeting where legal experts could address residents' concerns directly. The HOA found itself at a crossroads, caught between legal obligations and ethical responsibilities. As tensions mounted, it became clear that resolving these dilemmas would require not just legal maneuvering, but also a commitment to honoring the stories and lives intertwined with the land, a challenge that would test the very heart of the community. In the midst of rising tensions and complex dilemmas, local historians emerged as crucial voices in the conversation surrounding the discovery of the burial sites. Armed with knowledge of the region's history and a deep respect for its legacy, they stepped forward to advocate for the preservation of the land's rich heritage. Their expertise not only helped illuminate the significance of the findings, but also provided a bridge between the conflicting viewpoints in the community. Historians organized informational sessions, inviting residents to learn about the cultural and historical context of those buried beneath their feet. They shared stories of early settlers, community leaders, and families who had shaped the landscape over generations. By putting faces to the names found on headstones, they ignited a sense of connection and responsibility among listeners, transforming abstract ideas about history into tangible realities. One prominent historian, having lived in the area for decades, passionately argued that recognizing and preserving these burial sites was essential for understanding who they were as a community. History is not just about dates and events, it's about people and their stories, she emphasized during one town hall meeting. Her words resonated with many, reminding residents that honoring their past could enrich their collective identity. The historians also worked collaboratively with archaeologists to develop a plan for excavation that prioritized respect for the deceased while allowing for careful study of artifacts. This partnership fostered a sense of unity among those advocating for preservation and those seeking progress, showing that it was possible to honor history while still moving forward. As tensions eased somewhat, it became evident that local historians were not merely observers. They were vital players in shaping a future that acknowledged both heritage and development in harmony. After weeks of heated discussions, community meetings, and intense debates, the moment finally arrived for the residents to come together and make a collective decision about the future of the land. The atmosphere in the town hall was charged with anticipation as neighbors filled every seat, eager to voice their opinions and hear the perspectives of others. The HOA presented a revised proposal that reflected the community's concerns, suggesting a plan that included preserving the burial sites while still allowing for controlled development. They proposed creating a memorial park that would honor those buried there, providing a space for reflection and education amid the new housing. This compromise aimed to satisfy both those advocating for progress and those passionate about preserving history. As discussions unfolded, community members took turns sharing their thoughts. Some expressed relief at the potential for a solution that respected both their desire for new homes and their commitment to honoring the past. Others remained hesitant, worried about how well the promises of preservation would be upheld in practice. Ultimately, after hours of dialogue, a vote was called. Residents cast their ballots on whether to accept the HOA's revised proposal or explore alternative solutions. When the results were announced, a wave of emotion swept through the room. The majority had voted in favor of the compromise. Cheers erupted among those who had fought hard for recognition of the land's history, while others acknowledged that this decision offered a path forward. As neighbors hugged and congratulated one another, it became clear that this moment marked not just a decision about development, but a pivotal step toward building a stronger, more inclusive community that honored its roots while embracing its future. With the community's decision to move forward with the revised development plan, a new chapter began for the neighborhood. The HOA and residents set to work on implementing the compromise that prioritized both progress and preservation. As construction commenced, the focus shifted to creating a memorial park that would honor those buried on the land while incorporating modern homes around it. A planning committee was formed, consisting of community members, historians, and developers, to ensure that every aspect of the memorial park was thoughtfully designed. They envisioned walking paths lined with native plants, informative plaques telling the stories of those interred, and spaces for community gatherings and remembrance events. The shared goal brought together residents who had previously been divided, fostering a renewed sense of camaraderie. As the project progressed, local schools became involved by incorporating lessons about history, heritage, and respect for the past into their curricula. Children participated in planting trees and flowers in the memorial park, allowing them to forge connections with their community's history. This involvement not only educated the younger generation but also reinforced a sense of responsibility toward preserving their heritage. In time, the memorial park opened to great fanfare. Residents gathered to celebrate not only the completion of the project but also the reconciliation that had taken place within their community. Speeches were made, stories were shared, and tears were shed as families reflected on their ancestors' contributions and sacrifices. The park stood as a testament to what could be achieved when differing viewpoints were respected and heard. It symbolized a commitment to honoring the past while looking toward the future, an enduring legacy for generations to come. In this moment of unity, it became clear that they had not only built homes, they had built a community grounded in understanding and mutual respect. As the dust settled from the construction and the memorial park flourished, the community took a moment to reflect on the journey they had undertaken. What began as a contentious battle over land transformed into a unifying experience that reshaped their collective identity. Residents gathered in the park, sharing stories not just of the past but of how they had come together to create something meaningful for future generations. Local historians organized events at the park to educate residents about the lives of those buried there, ensuring that their legacies would not be forgotten. Families hosted gatherings, celebrating not only the history but also the friendships forged through shared challenges. The park became a space for reflection, remembrance, and community bonding, a living testament to resilience and respect. As new families moved into the neighborhood, they were welcomed with open arms and introduced to the stories that lay beneath their feet. The importance of heritage was woven into the fabric of community life, with annual events held to honor those interred in the memorial park. This commitment to remembering the past while embracing change became a defining characteristic of their community. In quiet moments, residents often found themselves contemplating what had been achieved. They recognized that their struggles had not been in vain. They had learned valuable lessons about empathy, collaboration, and the significance of history. The legacy left behind was not just one of homes built on land, but a powerful reminder that progress could coexist with respect for tradition. As they looked toward the future, this community stood united, no longer merely neighbors but a family shaped by shared values and a profound appreciation for their roots. In honoring those who came before, they had crafted a path forward that would echo through generations, ensuring that history would always have a place in their hearts.